Singapore is building 3 massive islands off its east coast. But they're not for luxury condos, hotels, or beaches. They're for survival. This $100 billion project, called Long Island, is one of the most ambitious climate defense efforts in the world. A man-made fortress designed to protect an entire country from being swallowed by the sea. But here's the question: will it work? Or will rising seas outpace even this bold idea? Singapore is one of the most advanced, densely packed cities on Earth. Nearly 6 million people live in an area just slightly bigger than Chicago. But here's the problem: a third of the country sits less than 5 meters above sea level. With climate change pushing sea levels higher every year, the risks aren't just future hypotheticals anymore. They're real. By the year 2100, storm surges could raise the waterline by 4 to 5 meters during extreme events. If that happens, large parts of Singapore's coastline, homes, businesses, highways, could end up underwater. And unlike other countries, Singapore has nowhere to retreat. There is no inland, no mountains. It's an island, surrounded by the very thing that threatens to drown it. So the country is doing what it does best: planning ahead. And its plan is one of the most daring infrastructure projects ever attempted. They're calling it Long Island, a set of 3 artificial islands to be built just off Singapore's eastern coast. In total, the project will cover 800 hectares. That's twice the size of Marina Bay, one of Singapore's most valuable districts. But Long Island isn't just about creating more space. It's about building a barrier, a physical wall between rising seas and the city. The islands will stand at a higher elevation than the current coastline. They'll act as a buffer against floods and storm surges, while also forming a new freshwater reservoir between themselves and the mainland. That's right, Singapore won't just block the sea, it'll trap and reuse it, turning part of the ocean into a controlled, protected body of water. And at the same time, these new islands will provide space for housing, business, transport, and recreation, all in one. It's a bold combination: coastal protection, urban expansion, and climate adaptation, all stacked into a single mega-project. Building new land from the sea isn't new to Singapore. In fact, the country has grown by 25% since the 1960s, almost entirely through land reclamation. But Long Island is taking a new approach, because the old method, dumping millions of tons of sand into the sea, just won't cut it anymore. Instead, engineers are using a smarter technique called the caisson method. A caisson is a massive, hollow concrete block. Each one is about 50 meters long, and they're built right on land. Once ready, they're floated out to sea and carefully lowered onto the seabed, like huge Lego pieces locking into place. These caissons form the outer wall of the new islands. Singapore will need around 200 of them, each one built to handle the ocean's force for over 150 years. And here's the genius part: because they're modular, they can be replaced or upgraded over time, without rebuilding the entire island. Once they're in place, engineers fill the spaces inside and around the caissons with gravel, sand, and other materials, slowly building up stable, solid land. This method reduces the need for imported sand, causes less disruption to the seabed, and creates a foundation that's stronger and more adaptable than anything Singapore has built before. But Long Island isn't just a wall, it's also a giant water management system. Between the islands and the mainland, Singapore will create a huge enclosed reservoir, a protected body of water connected to the sea through tidal gates. Here's how it works. On a regular day, the gates stay open, letting seawater flow in and out naturally. But when a storm surge or extreme rainfall hits, the gates close, and if water levels rise inside the reservoir, high-capacity pumps kick in, pushing the water out to sea. The system is modeled after Singapore's successful Marina Barrage, but on a much larger scale, stretching across 20 kilometers of coastline. In a worst-case storm scenario, Long Island becomes a pressure release valve, soaking up the impact before it reaches the city. It's not just flood protection, it's precision water control on a scale few other cities have ever attempted. What makes Long Island different is that it's not just defense, it's development. Each of the 3 islands will have a different purpose, carefully designed for Singapore's future. One will focus on residential and commercial development, with new high-rise apartments, shopping streets, and business districts. Another will become a massive recreational zone, with waterfront parks, artificial beaches, and green spaces. This section alone will triple the recreational coastline in East Coast Park. And the third island will support aviation and logistics, acting as a long-term expansion zone for Changi Airport, one of the world's busiest air hubs. It's a rare project that protects the coast, adds drinking water, creates new homes, and boosts the economy all in one move. Long Island isn't just building new land, it's building the next chapter of Singapore itself. Of course, a project this massive doesn't come without consequences. Singapore has a long history of land reclamation. It's how they built Marina Bay, Changi Airport, East Coast Park. But over the years, that progress has come at a price. More than 60% of the country's coral reefs have already been lost, largely because of reclamation works disturbing marine ecosystems. Environmental groups are warning that Long Island could make things worse. The construction could disrupt sensitive seabeds, harm coastal fisheries, and destroy habitats for marine life that are already under stress. Some scientists say it could even contribute to climate change by releasing carbon trapped in seabed sediments. And there's one big question that no one can fully answer. What if sea levels rise faster than expected? If ice sheets in Antarctica or Greenland melt quicker than predicted, the ocean could rise more than 1 meter in a matter of decades, making even Long Island vulnerable before it's complete. That's the challenge. Singapore is racing against a moving target. So how long will it take to build something like this? The answer: a long time. The first phase from 2024 to 2029 is all about planning. That includes environmental studies, engineering assessments, public consultations, and finalizing designs. If everything goes smoothly, actual construction will begin sometime in the early 2030s. But this is a marathon, not a sprint. Long Island will be built in stages, over multiple decades. Some parts might be completed before 2050. Others may take even longer. The full vision? It could take up to 50 years to fully bring to life. Singapore isn't just thinking ahead to the next decade, it's thinking ahead to the next century. At its core, Long Island is about more than just building land. It's about defying geography. Singapore is running out of space. It's surrounded by water. And yet, it's turning that limitation into a strength. This is one of the boldest climate adaptation projects in the world today. Not a retreat from rising seas, but a counterattack. Long Island will serve as a storm shield, a new reservoir, a waterfront city, and a climate resilience blueprint. It's a $100 billion gamble, not just on technology, but on our ability to adapt to a changing planet. And if it works, it could change how cities everywhere prepare for what's coming. What do you think? Is Long Island the future of coastal cities, or just a high-risk fix for a rising crisis? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the world's most ambitious mega projects, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We've got more stories just like this, and you won't want to miss them. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.